But now, my friends, I want to get into the main portion of today's show. Instead of doing a review, I do want to talk about movies, chat, but I want to talk about the best movies of 2022 so far. As I said at the top, despite, the sociopolitical things that are happening in the world right now, are happening in this country, I think it's been a pretty good year for entertainment, chat, particularly for film and for television, chat. So this week, I'm going to be doing a lot of best of the year lists so far. Tomorrow, I'll be doing probably television, and then on Wednesday, I'll most likely be doing, best games of the year so far, chat. But I did want to talk about movies because there's been some great films this year. And now just to preface this, I haven't put these in any sort of order. I'll rank them, from my favorite to my least favorite, my top 10, if you will, by the time we get to December or the first week of January when I do my official favorite movies of the year. But for right now, kind of, halfway through the year, I want to talk about some of my favorites. I want to have a nice back and forth with you guys about some of your favorite films too. Maybe you already have yours ranked, chat. Please let me know. But, I want to start. Let's just start right at the top, chap. Some of my favorite, one of my favorite movies of this year so far. It came out very early. It's frustrating because I feel like a lot of people are going to forget this, chat. Even though I think it's a very memorable movie with a very memorable creator and a character, of course. Famously, he's been playing this character for, God, at this point, over 20 years, chat, both on the stage and in film. But the first movie I have to bring up here, chat, of course, as you all know, is Medea's Homecoming. Medea is back, chat. We thought she was gone. Tyler Perry, chat. Tyler Perry himself, one of the greatest businessmen and creators of our time, he said Medea's dead. Medea's gone. I'm not going to play her again. I'm not going to put on the dress or the fat suit, chat. But thank God he did it. And Medea had her homecoming, chat, and what a homecoming it was. Reviewed this movie. I have a great appreciation for this character. And I'm sorry. Why are you bullshit? Listen. I will say, listen, it's not a great movie in any capacity, chat. It's very poorly written, poorly edited, chat, poorly directed. But, I want to just give, before I talk about my favorite films of the year, I want to do an honorable mention, chat, for Medea Homecoming, which I'm hoping will set up the Medea Home trilogy, much like we've had the Spider-Man Home trilogy, chat. We had Spider-Man Homecoming. Eventually, they set up Medea's going international. She's going to go far from home, chat, because in this film, she also crosses over with Mrs. Brown from Mrs. Brown's Boys. We had that. We had the white fat Medea come over, chat, and they were battling and things. It was great. They were getting high together. And so that was a nice little crossover event. And so I imagine that's what this movie sets up. So this movie, not great. It had some fun moments, certainly. Some things that were just very confusing. I liked all the Medea parts. That's the thing, though, about Medea, chat, is that despite how bad these movies can get, and boy, can they get bad, I do like the character of Medea. That is Tyler Perry's greatest creation. There'll be times when she'll just make me laugh, and when she's just saying, hello, it's like, I can't help it. I start giggling. I'm a Medea fan. Not so much a fan of the rest of the characters in Tyler Perry's movies. I do have an appreciation for his dramas, chat. His dramas are actually his funniest comedies because they're so unintentionally funny. They're so earnest. They're so terrible. I like those, definitely. Though probably not for the reasons that he would want me to like them. But yeah, listen, I got to give a shout out to my girl, Medea, chat, because not a lot of people are going to be talking about her at the end of the year. So boom, let's go ahead and give a Medea a round of applause, chat, for coming back and doing what she does best, chat, which is just saying hello and being the shit out of people and talking common sense. There was a couple of good seasons where she's talking sense to these people, and I liked it, chat. I dug it quite a bit. So thank you, Mabel Simmons, a.k.a. Medea. God bless you. Can't wait to see you as you go international. But moving on from that, moving on from Medea, chat, getting serious. Let's get serious now. Let's get dangerous, chat. One of my other favorite films this year is The Batman, chat. Matt Reeves, The Batman. You guys know I'm a big Batman fan. I like the previous films, some of the previous kind of like standalone Batman movies with, Christian Bale's Batman. Really like Batman Begins, Dark Knight. Not so much a big fan of Rises. And then, of course, we got the Ben Affleck era, which, I don't think it was Ben Affleck's fault for what happened in those movies, how they turned out. It's more, Zack Snyder not knowing to do with the character. So it's been some time since we got a good standalone Batman movie, Chad. It's been over a decade, really, when you think about it, since like The Dark Knight, for me. Since that was the last Batman movie I truly loved, I thought was great. And when Matt Reeves was picked as the director, I thought, oh, good, because Matt Reeves, at least at this point in his career, I don't think he's directed a bad movie yet. Really enjoyed Cloverfield. I really liked his American adaptation of Let the Right One In with Let Me In. I like that movie. I know some people don't. I liked it. His two Apes movies are great, Chad. Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes. Thought they were amazing. And when they selected him as the Batman, I thought, oh, perfect choice. And just how he was talking about it, he wanted to make it a gritty detective story, and that was one of the things that always frustrated me with some other Batman adaptations, even the Christopher Nolan movies, even though I love Batman Begins and Dark Knight. But the filmmakers and the writers, they never wanted to present Batman as a detective, and he was always presented that way in the comics and also famously in the animated series. And to hear Matt Reeves say that's what he wanted to do, he was a detective first and a superhero second, I thought that was great. I loved Robert Pattinson as Batman. I thought he did a great job. He's already been Batman for about a year. This is his second year. This is definitely the most emotionally, psychologically damaged cinematic version of the character so far. He hasn't really come up with the Bruce Wayne persona yet. He's incredibly unhappy. I love this version of Gotham where it's modern, but I just love how also dilapidated it looks. Almost kind of looks dystopian. It's always raining. It just smells. Everything just smells wet and like mold. That's where I picture it, Chad. The smell. And of course, the supporting cast, I think is great. Everyone from Zoe Kravitz, the Catwoman, to Colin Farrell as the Penguin, who is just, you just don't recognize him as Colin Farrell. That makeup is amazing. I love Paul Dano as the Riddler, this more Zodiac-esque version of this killer, serial killer-esque version of the Riddler. I thought that was really cool. And then you have even some other smaller characters like John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. I really liked him in this movie, and some other tertiary people. They did a great job. It's definitely pretty long. I didn't really feel the length so much, chat. But I can understand why the people did. It's about 2 hours and 50 minutes, so it's just like a little less than 10 minutes shy of 3 hours. But I really love this take on Batman. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with a sequel. They're already talking like Robert Pattinson, he seems excited, and he's been talking about stuff like the Court of Owls, which I've wanted to see for so long. So I can't wait to see what they got next. I thought they really nailed it, Chad. This is probably, in terms of Batman films, this is in my top 3. I don't know where I'd rank. I think Dark Knight's still number 1. But, maybe number 2 or number 3, Chad, either above or right below Batman Begins. It's a great Batman movie, and Matt Reeves did a great job, in my opinion. Moving on from that, I want to talk about some animated movies, Chad. One which sadly, every year, we Pixar, they release 2. Sometimes they release 2 movies, Chad. Most of the time they just release 1. But in any case, if they release 2 movies, there's always going to be the good one. There's going to be the not necessarily bad, but disappointing. Thankfully, I can say, chat, Turning Red was not that disappointing movie. Now, there's been a lot of hubbub, a lot of quote-unquote controversy. I think it's faux controversy about this film because it follows this girl who's going through puberty, chat. And, it's commenting on topics that you thought, well, oh, how dare you talk about that? But, the idea of menstruation. But it's more than that. It's a coming-of-age story. And I love the characters in this. And I think with the character of Ming, I think it was the character's name is Ming, and her friends, it's set in the 2000s, early 2000s Canada, and it's dealing with the issues that she has with her family and her mother, and it's about this kind of generational thing, how all these changes and decisions affect one generation to the other. I really like that. I thought, and it was just very funny, Chad. The voice acting across the board is great. Got James Hahn in it, Chad. James Hahn is in 2 of my favorite movies this year. You put James Hahn in your movie, it's like, okay, you got my attention already. But I thought this was adorable. And even the trailers, I thought the trailers, look fun. These look fine. But I really fell in love with this movie. I got watery-eyed several times while watching this. Same with the Batman. Got watery-eyed several times, especially towards the end. But, this one really impressed me. It's a shame that, you had all these people that were criticizing who haven't even watched it, chat. And, the movie trended for some of the worst reasons. People saying, like, I couldn't relate to a teenage girl. It's like, what are you talking about? You mean you didn't grow up around teenage girls? You don't understand what they could go through? That's a damn shame. But no, I think this movie stands out. It's probably my favorite animated movie of the year so far. And the director of the film, rising star in Pixar, chat, Dami Shi. She was an animator on multiple of their movies, Inside Out, Incredibles 2, and Toy Story 4. Before this movie, she's probably best known for directing the short Bao, which was about the mom voring the little dumpling boy. I was like, it was adorable, but also horrifying, chat. Pixar bringing vor, to cinemas. Bold Pixar. And now they're bringing menstruating little girls, for shame. No, I loved how they handled that. I thought it was very funny. I think this is a great movie. Like so many other Pixar movies, chat. What Pixar does best, I feel like, is that they just don't make movies for children. They make movies for everyone. Where you can have children watch this, and you can also have adults watch this at the same time, and they get something out of it. And I really, really, and 9/11, Chad, it's true. That's the other thing. God, the stupid controversies that people attach to this movie. So necessary. You're right. Yeah, where someone was upset that because this movie takes place in 2002 in Toronto, that why wasn't 9/11 mentioned? I was like, why would it be? It doesn't make any fucking sense. So, yeah, perfect movie. Listen. So often, even after a film like Lightyear, which is not on my list, which I consider to be not bad, but disappointing, definitely disappointing, chat. It's still, even though that wasn't one of Pixar's best, it's not. This still proves that Pixar has a lot of creative people. They got a lot of great ideas, and so never bet against Pixar, chat. Because more often than not, they're going to make, at the very least, a very good movie. And so, yeah, Turning Red, definitely one of my favorites of the year. Definitely my favorite animated movie of the year. And this is another one that might be a little controversial, chat. Don't know if this will be on my top 10 of the year, but I still really enjoyed it. And that's Marvel's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I was a fan of the first Doctor Strange. I liked it quite a bit. Really enjoyed Benedict Cumberbatch in that movie in particular, and also Benedict Wong's Wong character. We do get more of them in this film. In this film, where Doctor Strange, it definitely is relying on a lot of the things that have come before it. Everything with the Avengers and, Infinity War and Endgame and Thanos and of course, WandaVision. But, the thing that I really liked about this movie was just Doctor Strange himself. Like, the one thing that really stuck out to me time and time again, I thought this was great, was everyone keeps asking Doctor Strange, are you happy? Are you happy? Are you happy? He's like, yeah, I'm happy. And they keep asking all these different characters. And there's like all these subtle things in the film, like the fact that he's having these recurring nightmares. He's suffering from anxiety and stress. He's drinking heavily. And I really like that. And it shows that, despite everything, despite now trying to fill the vacuum of all these heroes that were lost, over the, course of several movies, Chad, with the Avengers, Infinity War and Endgame, trying to fill the void of someone like Tony Stark or Captain America. He's struggling with that, and it's hard for him. And his arc in the movie is being able to let go of something he desperately wants. And saying that, especially with the character of the love interest character. I'm blanking on the name at the moment, chat. You guys can help me up here. And I thought they were not one. No, he has one. He has one. Palmer. That's right, Palmer. Christine Palmer, thank you. The movie starts where, she's moved on. She's getting married at this point. And he still obviously loves her, and he meets another version of her in the multiverse, which I want to get into just a bit. But he understands that he needs to let go of her. He has that wonderful moment in the film. It's right before kind of the final act, the third act, where he's like, I will love you in every universe, but I know I can't have you, and I need to let you go. And he becomes a stronger person. And I really love that about him. And it's the opposite, chat, of Wanda, where Wanda, she's unwilling to let go, unwilling to let go of the fact that her children aren't real, and that she would do anything to get her children back, including maim and murder countless people. And I also loved Elizabeth Olsen in this film as Wanda, finally embracing her villainous tendencies, which they've been building to throughout the multiple films that she's appeared in, chat. Not every character should be redeemed. Not every character needs to be redeemed. I know that was a bit controversial decision that, that's like, oh, you made her a villain. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they were building towards. That's what the way she was in the comics. And I really liked that, And where Steven was able to let go, she was not, and she pays for it. She doesn't get what she deserves, nor should she. I really like that. Yeah, it's a juxtaposition to Wanda's arc, very much so. And then there's also a lot of fun stuff in the movie, too. I love exploring different multiverses, wonderful action scenes and sequences. Sam Raimi's sensibilities as a director are on full display. There are so many scenes where it felt like Evil Dead or Drag Me to Hell, Chad. And you even had scenes where Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen were acting like Bruce Campbell, like from those Evil Dead movies, like Ash Williams. And so I really dug it. And yeah, there are so many fun little fight sequences. The movie had some issues. There's no doubt about that. I had some problems overall with it. I don't think Sam Raimi knows how to direct children. Some of those scenes were just like, they just did not work when they're supposed to have that emotional hit. They just didn't have that emotional impact. But overall, I still really enjoy Zombie Strange. Oh yeah, there was so much fun stuff in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. I hope they bring back Sam Raimi again, and I want to see them get weird, because the weirder the movie was, the more fun it was, and they had those great cameos and things. So yeah, a real fun summer blockbuster, chat. Moving on from that. A film that's on some people's list, but I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about it right now. But that's Ty West's horror film, X, where if you're not familiar, this is from A24. Like I said, directed by Ty West, set in the late 1970s. It follows this film crew that I think they're going to they're in Texas somewhere. That's the other thing too about it. Like, they all think like Texas is this filled with these redneck areas, which someplace they are, but like every part in Texas is filled with rednecks and is forests and everything like that and tumbleweeds, but this feels like Ty West's homage to something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it follows this film crew that wants to make a pornographic movie. They rent out this property from this old couple, chat, that live there, and crazy stuff starts to happen. The wife, chat, not to get into too many spoilers, because I really want people to check this out, because I think it's really fun. If you're a fan of 1970s horror and slashers, this is one of the better ones I think has come out in the last few years. It's very fun. It's very bloody. It's very gory. It's also very well acted, of course. But there's some interesting, crazy things on that farm that start happening, and one by one, a lot of the crew members, a lot of the actors start dying in all sorts of horrific ways. It's a great little indie horror thriller. And then they're actually already doing a prequel right now. But yeah, this was a surprise for me. I didn't know what to expect. Sometimes A24, it's like, A24, at the very least, they're always going to do something different. They always can surprise you. Some of the stuff kind of feels like, mumblecore dramedy bullshit. But then there's stuff like this, was like, wow, you're keeping the slasher subgenre alive, and doing both new things with and familiar things with it, and showing your love and respect for it as well. I think that's really cool, and that's great that Ty West did that, and A24 had confidence in this project. So yeah, X, yeah, one of the best horror movies so far this year, chap. Highly recommend checking that one out. Speaking of A24, there are several A24 films on my favorite movies of the year so far, chat, at this point in 2022. But the next one, chat, is The Northman. You guys know I'm a big Robert Eggers fan, revisiting something like The Witch, which I originally liked, but now I've come to appreciate a lot more. Thought that was great, his exploration of, late, I guess, 17th century, Puritan communities and, witchcraft, people perceive different things. I thought that was a really cool movie. I love, you guys know, I love The Lighthouse. Hark! So good. And this is his Conan the Barbarian, chat, where it's adaptation of the story of Amleth, which was also the inspiration for Shakespeare's Hamlet, chat. We're following this Viking prince who is in exile of his home. His father is murdered by his uncle, and he wants to seek vengeance. Chat. He wants to, what was the thing he always said? He's like, I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother, and I will kill you, Fjolnir. And it follows his life and his quest for vengeance, and it's incredibly well shot. The cinematography is beautiful. The acting is amazing from Alexander Skarsgård, and you also have Anya Taylor-Joy does a great job. So many other character actors. Willem Dafoe has a great role in this, chat. Oh, this is Focus Features. This isn't A24. Fair enough. But still, a great movie. Robert Eggers. I'm shocked that he got the budget, that he got for to make this movie. Really, really surprised me. I don't know if I probably didn't turn a profit yet, but it is absolutely gorgeous. So much of this film. I don't know why, but maybe it's because when I watched the movie, I was also playing Elden Ring. But there is straight up a Dark Souls boss fight in this movie. And I fucking loved it. And like how this ends, there's just like, man, I would love to see like Robert Eggers do a Conan the Barbarian movie, because this is the closest I think we've gotten to like the original Conan the Barbarian from Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the score is incredible, chat. Oh yeah, Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman has an incredible performance in this. Yeah, this is going to be a favorite at a lot of award shows this year, chat. And it deserves to be. It deserves to be. Excellent filmmaking across the board. Moving on from that, chat. Now, this is an A24 movie. Matter of fact, it's the highest grossing A24 movie, and that is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And this is from Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, I believe, who have made several other films before, chat. Probably best known for directing Swiss Army Man before this. I think that was their last feature in 2016. And listen, if you were disappointed by Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, if you felt like they didn't do enough to explore the idea of a multiverse, I highly recommend checking out Everything Everywhere All at Once, where the movie originally starts with Michelle Yeoh, which I feel like, at least, I've not seen all of Michelle Yeoh's movies, but I've seen quite a few of them. I think this might be Michelle Yeoh's greatest performance of what I've seen, chat. I feel like she's going to get a lot of award attention, but it's about her and her family. We also see the return of Ke Huy Quan. If you don't know the name, chat, he played Short Round in the Temple of Doom and Data in The Goonies. He returns here for the first time after however long, 20 years, along with a bunch of other great actors, chat. James Hahn, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis, who at some points is unrecognizable. Jenny Slate as well. And it follows this woman who's pretty much having an existential crisis, and she ends up wrapped into this multiverse war, chat, where she harnesses the powers of different versions of herself across the multiverse. How they use their budget is incredible. Like this, listen. This is a pretty high budget movie for A24. It's about $25 million, but they use it well. I love how they're able to hide certain things, but still like really showcase. I don't know. Maybe it's just this directing duo. Like when you don't have a lot, you're forced to do things in really interesting ways, and I feel like they do so. But at the same time, despite all the crazy special effects and the mixed martial arts, there's a lot of great fight scenes, a lot of goofy stuff too. The comedy, it's very, very funny. This movie has so much heart, where you can literally have two scenes with rocks of googly eyes and text pops up above both of them having a conversation, and you'll feel yourself get watered. You might even start crying. Like that's pretty special. Yeah, this is one of the most original movies this year. I feel like people are going to be talking about this film by the end of the decade. As like, wow, this is how you do a sci-fi fantasy comedy. It's great, and the one that still has a lot of heart, and one that is still smartly written. That's great. That's not always relying on special effects, but it has some great special effects. So, I highly recommend checking out Everything Everywhere All at Once. Not a fan of the title because I sometimes forget how to say it, chat. I get mush mouth. It's like I'm speaking mumbo jumbo. But I highly recommend Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then another film, chat, which, listen, I've thought about it more and more, and I've come to understand, I've come to realize, like, no, I really do like this movie a lot. And I've one big criticism, but over time, I've really come to love this film, and that's Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I've gotten to that point where maybe I originally gave this like a high matinee on the DT scale, but the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, low full price. Now I'm thinking on a full price yet. I still will say, I think John Mulaney and Andy Samberg are miscast as Chip and Dale respectively. However, this is kind of what I've been wanting from a Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel for decades. This is the closest that they've come to doing a proper sequel, chat. And it's worthy. It stands up there. Like, forget Space Jam, the first one, and the sequel, New Legacy. Forget Looney Tunes Back, and that's bullshit. Get that shit out of there. Those movies suck. This is what those movies should have been. It's so reverent of like the Disney afternoon cartoons like Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, like Tailspin, like all that era. This is just animation in general. Outside of, John Mulaney and Andy Samberg, I think they really do have some great voices, and like everyone from like J.K. Simmons and Will Arnett, who do a really good job in this movie. There's so many funny scenes in this. Clearly this was written by people who love these types of cartoons, and it's almost like they were saying what we've been saying for years, chat. Like, I know this is definitely, Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island people. You have Akiva Schaffer, who directed this movie, and he's one of the members of the Lonely Island. And, like, there's just, like, this one scene here where, they finally point out, like, all these studios, for whatever reason, they always tend to, like, urbanize these characters, these cartoons from way back when, where, they had this whole sequence of like the chipmunks and, they're rapping, and you have Chip going like, of course they're rapping. Of course, it's like, wow, you finally did that. You finally pointed that out. Thank you. You almost feel vindicated watching this movie. But at the same time, I realized, I was like, wow, this still is it's a Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers cartoon, which I was originally very concerned about. I thought this movie was just going to be references for the sake of references, and it's not. Like, they reference stuff, but for the most part, they're pretty clever about it. They're very respectful of the original Rescue Rangers, and it's a caper, it's a mystery, it's a conspiracy thing. This movie has a little bit of the DNA of something like an L.A. Confidential even. I was like, wow, I really dug that, and I think it has a great message, and it's a great montage sequences and chases and things, and there's some other great cameos, of course, and there's just stuff you can rewatch. This is the kind of movie you can rewatch multiple times, and you won't get everything. There's so much stuff layered in the background that you can see, and if you're an animation fan, I think you'll get a kick out of it. But they don't shove it in your face. It's not like Space Jam: A New Legacy, or like see, and there's just pounding into your face. It's like, no, they're a little smarter about that. And I was like, you know what? God, this movie is special. And I know they talked about doing sequels, or at least doing a sequel. I don't know. I don't know if there's been any word on that, if they want to move forward, but I would very much be open. If they can make another movie that is just as good, do it. I would love to see it. This is, to me, the natural successor to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I think they've also confirmed that it might take place in the same world as Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There's little references. I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's a lot they can play around with, chat. And so if you were, listen, and I was very skeptical. I was very skeptical of this movie. You guys knew that. I was like, I don't know. I was burned so many times because of all those other terrible Space Jam movies and Looney Tunes Back and all that bullshit. And I can say, chat, I was so happy to be wrong. So happy to eat that humble pie, eat that crow. Because this was great. I thought it was great. And then the last one, chat, which comes at, no surprise, Top Gun Maverick. It's funny because, as some of you may know, maybe not all of you know, I'm no fan of the original Top Gun. I mean, if the parts I like I don't think are the parts they intended me to like. I think it's a very unintentionally funny movie because of how poorly written it was, and it's so overtly homoerotic. And it doesn't seem to be aware of that fact. I'm like, okay, whatever. And so the fact that, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to make a sequel. It's like, why bother? But, this movie was in some form of development for 30 years, and Tom Cruise said he wasn't going to do it unless it was perfect, chat. And, You know, he got, you know, one of his boys, Joseph Kaczynski, in there. And, you know, I even, despite putting out those trailers, people were like, this looks good. I was like, I don't know. But then I went to go see the movie, and I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. It's what's so interesting about it is that it's very reverent of the original film, but at the same time gets rid of the stuff that doesn't work and focuses on the stuff that does and makes that better by tenfold. But also having an arc for Maverick, including a cast of characters that maybe they don't all have a lot of depth, but they're fun and you like them. They all have moments throughout the movie. And you have these incredible action sequences in these fighter jets, Chad, that just take your breath away. I mean, and if I have to say, like, there's one movie, I'm always saying, watch movies how you want to watch them, whether it be in the theater or at home. This is one of those films that, like, you're going to miss something if you don't see this in the theater. There are so many amazing sequences in this movie. The editing's incredible. It's going to get all the attention. It's probably going to win every technical award this year at the various award ceremonies. Shane deserves to. But I also think, like, this is a best picture contender. It is up there. This movie, this blockbuster, is going to be remembered, I feel like, in the same way that Aliens is remembered and James Cameron's Terminator 2 Judgment Day is remembered. Just that sequel that improved upon, you know, in all various ways from the original film. It's gonna be looked at that, I think, like decades from now. It's gonna be that really special blockbuster. There's, you know, people are saying, like, some people want a sequel. I don't even want a sequel. It's like, it's perfect. Like, everything kind of wraps up. It's a great story. It just when you leave the theater after seeing this movie, you just feel good. You feel happy. You know, it's one of those great movie experiences. You know, I'm always kind of like that guy. It's like, oh, cinema, you can enjoy cinema however you want. But it's like, okay, this really does show how special a theater experience can be, like, with an audience, because you'll feel it together. I love this movie. It's probably my favorite movie of the year right now. It is my number one. Like, the rest of those, I don't know how I'd rank them. I'd have to think about it, chat. But for right now, this is firmly my number one favorite movie of 2022. It's the one to beat. Perhaps it will be beaten, chat. I don't know what else is coming out this year. But yeah, as I've said before at the top, I think 2022 has been pretty good for entertainment and for film. But I'm curious about you guys. What are some of your favorite movies of 2022? What are you guys excited for in the future? Let me know.